Good evening and welcome to the evening news on OSBC television. My name is Mutsurayo Ayegbayo. President Bola Tinubu has said that peace, stability, and democracy are the keys to Africa's progress and development. Speaking at a dinner organized in his honor by President Teodoro Basago of Equatorial Guinea, President Tinubu said Africa must take charge of solving its own problems, rejecting external expectations of conflict and instability. Before the dinner, the Nigerian president and his host had sat for talks and signed agreements in various areas including petroleum, security, among others. He highlighted the brain drain and talent loss Africa faces due to poverty, archaic judicial systems, and tribalism, emphasizing that these issues must be addressed to foster development. President Tinubu also appealed to international organizations to invest more in African research and development. While President Tinubu has explained why he signed the Defense Industries Corporations of Nigeria bill within 6 months, saying that he was driven by his vision of self-reliance in defense production, the president shed light on his security priorities at the 68th anniversary of Defense Industries Corporations of Nigeria and Made African Defense Industries Conference in Abuja. He emphasized that the country has to achieve self-sufficiency in military hardwares. President Tinubu was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, said Deacon has become a cornerstone of Nigeria's military-industrial complex, producing ammunition and equipment that support Nigeria's military and security agencies. Earlier, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, has said the Nigerian Armed Forces, paramilitary, and the police need 350 million rounds of ammunition yearly for effective operations. The minister spoke on the imperative of self-sufficiency in defense production during the signing of a memorandum of understanding on the establishment of weapon plants in Abuja. The Ministry of Finance has confirmed the approval of the Nigeria Customs Service to start the implementation of the 0% import duty and exemption of value-added tax on basic food items. This was after President Bola Tinubu approved the implementation of 0% import duty and exemption of value-added tax on basic food items. Meanwhile, the Comptroller General of the NSC, Bashir Adeleke, had instructed officials of the service to commence enforcement measures. The NCA noted that the exemption of value-added tax on basic food items such as maize, ox bran rice, wheat, grain beans, and millet are in place with effect from July to December this year. It will be recalled that the federal government at the end of last month announced the suspension of duties, tariffs, and taxes on the importation of food staples through land and sea borders to reduce inflation. The House of Representatives Special Committee on Oil Theft and Losses has made case for a special intervention fund for the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps and the Nigeria Customs Service as enablement to effectively address the challenges of crude oil theft. Chairman of the committee, Mr. Azan Dukua, made the call during a special session on how special intervention funds are applied to combat crude oil theft. Mr. Dukua expressed displeasure with the lack of support for the NSCDC to assist it deliver on its mandates. He said the committee will ensure that the NSCDC is fully carried along in the war against oil theft and losses in Nigeria, urging the security agencies in attendance of the meeting to speak up and share their challenges in order for the committee to make informed decisions that will improve the country's economic growth. The Nigeria Labour Congress has accused the federal government of declaring war against it following the recent raid on its headquarters by security forces. The NLC leaders rejected the police explanation at a press conference in Abuja for the invasion and demanded an apology as well as the return of seized items and the release of detained individuals. The NLC also criticized government attempts to interfere with its internal affairs including a proposed reduction in the tenure of trade union leaders, arguing that it violates labor laws and international conventions. It will recall that the police had claimed that the raid on the headquarters of the NLC was aimed at apprehending an international terrorist suspect, but the NLC dismissed it as a cover-up, pointing out contradictions in the police accounts. The labor union warned that it will hold the police responsible for any future incident at its headquarters or against its leaders and members. The media rights agenda has asked the federal government to comply with the orders of a federal high court in Abuja, which directed it to take concrete measures to prevent attacks on journalists and other media practitioners. It also urged the government to thoroughly investigate, prosecute, and penalize perpetrators of all attacks against journalists. Consequently, the media rights agenda delivered a formal letter to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, emphasizing their deep concern over the persistent attacks and harassment of journalists across Nigeria. Head of MRA's legal department, Ms. Opioma Okonko, stated non-compliance with such orders not only undermines the judicial process, but also threatens the very fabric of the democratic society. She further stressed that the continued disregard for the court's orders amounted to contempt of court, which could erode public confidence in the justice system and bring the government into disrepute nationally and internationally. Ms. Okonko urged the Attorney General to take immediate steps to ensure full compliance with the court's orders to prevent further attacks on journalists and bring those responsible to justice. And now to sports. The presidency says it is now ready to head into the appointment of a new coach for the Super Eagles. According to the Nigerian Football Federation, the appointment of the new Super Eagles coach is now beyond it and sports ministry. Report says the NFA is set to make a pronouncement on the appointment of a new head coach for the three-time African champions due to the controversy surrounding the appointment of the new head coach. NFF Technical Director Augustine Eguavon is in line to manage the Super Eagles for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers against Benin Republic and Rwanda next month. And coming from the foreign scene, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has met with Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud in Cairo to discuss countering terrorism and Somalia's security. One of the outcomes of the meeting was the new defense agreement signed between Somalia and Egypt, as President Fattah el-Sisi expressed his support to combat terrorism in Somalia, ensuring its stability. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud said he was impressed by the outcome of the meeting to protect his country from terrorism and starvation. It will be recalled that 100